People coming in. Thank you for remembering to hit record, Sawyer. Thank you. And I'm gonna make you the hosts just in case my internet does not decide to work. Don't you love that, everyone? I got this notice this morning that we're going to be working on your internet in your neighborhood today. It's like, really? Don't they know that I have these meetings? I guess not. But if it gets me faster internet and it doesn't have glitches, then I'll be happy to have that happen. All right. I see we have a bunch of people here. Thanks so much for being here with us this afternoon. It is afternoon almost everywhere, right? Okay, I'm Joy Brand Richardson. I'm very happy to be here from JCC Association. I use the pronouns she and her, and I'm joined by my colleague Sawyer Schwartz, who's part of our talent team. Today, he's going to be helping us with tech support. And also on this call are your chair people. They're yours. They work at JCCs. Kimberly Gordon is the Cultural Arts Director at the JCC in Foster City, California. And we also have Amy Romani, who's the Director of Arts and Culture at the Rubenstein JCC in Houston, Texas. Randy Luderman, who is the JCC Association Vice President of Development and Arts and Culture, is unable to be with us today, but she sends her regards to everyone. We understand that people may be new to this group or to your role at a JCC, and there are some of you who have many, many years of experience. Each of us brings wisdom to the conversations, as you'll hear from some of the presenters today. And we ask everyone to participate in conversations, ask questions, approach each other with respect. And at this time, I'd like to turn things over to your chair people. I believe Amy is going to start us off with a very special portion of our program.
Thanks, Joy. Thank you all for joining us today as we dive into the topic of fundraising in the arts. The idea for this session actually came to us from the field, from a colleague looking for more information about certain fundraising models. And we knew if one person was interested in the topic, that others most likely were as well. This is a great reminder that we want to hear what would be valuable in these sessions as we continue to learn together. Please reach out to Kimberly or myself with any ideas or areas you would like to explore more in these sessions. I'm excited today to introduce our Bright Spot segment. We like to start each session with a bright spot, a colleague sharing a successful program with us that we can all be inspired by and learn from. Often these are programs that can be easily adapted at other JCCs. So we encourage you to think through that lens as you're listening to the segment. We want to hear from you if you would like to be featured in a future Bright Spot or have an idea about a program at another JCC that you think we should feature. I'm excited to introduce our Bright Spot segment for today. Hillary Wenk is the Manager of Operations and Community Engagement from the Bernard Wenger JCC in Chicago. She will be sharing with us about their Violins of Hope program.
And as predicted, the dog starts barking. I apologize, everyone. Let me just get my screen set. Okay. So, for those of you who aren't clear on what Violins of Hope is, it's a collection of Holocaust-era stringed instruments that have been rescued and restored and travel the globe as instruments of peace and hope. Violins of Hope was founded by Amnon and Avshalom Weinstein, an Israeli father-son team of master violin makers who recognize the opportunity to do something extraordinary. In 2019, JCC Chicago contracted to bring the Violins of Hope to our community. We got a little sidetracked in 2020, 2021, and in the end of 2022, we really kicked off what wound up to be the most expansive and longest running Violins of Hope project since the founding of the initiative in 2006. So, Violins of Hope by the numbers. We had we were in 23 different schools, 14 synagogues or churches, 15 library programs and exhibits, 33 orchestra or school concerts, 27 community centers, and 13 museum exhibits. So that came to 125 programs in total. Our original goal was 50. So when we surpassed that, it was kind of exciting. And we engaged with over 200,000 community members across Illinois. We could not have possibly done this without our amazing sponsors. This is a very expensive project and it's time consuming, but the community building and the lives that we touch, you can't put a price on that. But we did have a really wonderful group of volunteers, that group of sponsors who gave a significant amount of money for us to be able to do this. We also built a tremendous partnership throughout the project, 71 partners who hosted 125 of these programs. Of note, the Chicago Cubs and Cook County United Against Hate are longtime partners who we continue to work with on different projects. And they've been super supportive. And the Pritzker Military Museum hosted a full day of programming and offered significant financial sponsorship. So JCC, the Violins of Hope on the Road. This is kind of cool, I think. So we're the only JCC in the entire state of Illinois, which is, you know, a pretty big state. The longest trip the Violins made were from Northbrook. We do not have one campus, JCC Chicago. We have several sites across the suburbs. Bernard Wenger, it just happens to be where my desk is, but that's our sort of headquarters. And so from there, the Violins travel 217 miles to the capital in Springfield, where we worked with the Springfield Federation. Who knew there were Jews down there? But they've got a nice community, and they were thrilled to have the Violins for a few days at the very end of our time with them. The Violins left the state of Illinois and went to our residential overnight camp in Lake Delton, Wisconsin. So they spent a weekend there with our campers, which was awesome. And while they were here in residence, we loaned them out to someone took one of them to Australia, and a few went to San Francisco because their concert had been canceled due to COVID. So we sent them out there so they could finally have that concert. And we had a wonderful cadre of 20 volunteers who just did amazing stuff. They did extra research. They learned more about the people who were behind the Violins. And it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So this doesn't even begin to show the wealth of beautiful things that happened during the concert. From the top left, we have the Lakeview Symphony Orchestra concert, and that featured Caitlin Edwards. She played that same violin at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, for the filming of Dreams of Hope, which was a film that we showed as part of JCC Chicago Jewish Film Festival. So it was really great to be able to tie a little bit of that together. Then we have a 90-year-old Holocaust survivor at an outdoor conference at the Chicago Botanic Gardens. So that was super nice to be able to have them outside and just open to the community. We were with one of our early childhood sites. You'll see that it has a different name, the Jacob Duman Building, but part of JCC Chicago. And the students were with the Northbrook Symphony Orchestra conductor and violinist, Mina Zerke. He worked with us throughout the time that they were here, and it was great. And then in the middle, we have the Ravinia Festival. The I don't know, maybe you've heard of Ravinia. We have really huge concerts out in the suburbs, outside all summer long. This happened to be in their inside auditorium, but we have big names come. That was sold out even before we could put it on our website. So that was beautiful. The bottom, we have Deerfield High School's Yom HaShoah program. And then we have Afshi, the principal behind the project, at the opening exhibit of the Gail Borden Library. They built a life-size cover of the James Grimes book, Violins of Hope, which, I mean, who does that? But it was pretty cool. We have a few comments from our participants, from some of our instrument players. It's so hard to put into words like what this meant. I've told people that this was definitely the highlight of my career. Like I'm not sure anything else is going to beat this. So it was wonderful just to get this out and share it with the community. So from Violins of Hope, we made all these connections. We had sponsors, we had partners. We weren't just going to let this go. So from Violins of Hope came Growing Hope, because at JCC Chicago, we do not do anything small. Everything is on a really large scale. For those of you who know our CEO, Addie Goodman, that will definitely make sense to you. So as the residency was quickly coming to an end, we were trying to figure out how we were going to keep this momentum going. And so we've morphed into Growing Hope. So we believe the collective impact of the Jewish spirit and are moving forward on an ambitious course of action with an urgent sense of purpose, ignited by our 6-month Violins of Hope residency, which reached over 200,000 people throughout the state of Illinois. Growing Hope is a call to action. The movement is designed to combat a growing crisis of hopelessness, anxiety, and fear by engaging youth as upstanders in their communities. Rooted in the Jewish spirit of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, Growing Hope will empower youth to use the tools of empathy, kindness, and creativity in service of building a brighter future for all. One of the things that we learned, which was really surprising while we were out in the schools, is that a lot of students have no idea what the Holocaust is. We are the first state in the country to have mandatory Holocaust education, and it is woefully lacking. So we hope that as we grow Growing Hope, that we'll be able to get this information out to more people so that they understand really what's going on. So we had the amazing opportunity to have the violins at Gallagher Way, which is this beautiful grassy area right outside Wrigley Field, which is where the Cubs play. And we had a great array of entertainment that came out and helped support us. It was hot, as it usually is in Chicago in August, but it was really a super fun night. So what we're doing now is taking Growing Hope and finding ways to get it out to our communities. So we have a few other exhibits that are coming and will fall under the umbrella of Growing Hope: Triumph of the Spirit, Humans of October 7th with Eric Kiganovich. We are the official film festival for Real Abilities now. So we're excited to have that opportunity here in Chicago. And we're going to go back to our library partners, our universities, our civic centers, as we begin to work on our 2nd annual Growing Hope concert in partnership with Chicago Cubs. And I already shared a little bit about Illinois being the first state in the country. And so really we're going to be targeting students, to be upstanders, not bystanders. We've had quite a few interesting things happening in Chicago with regard to anti-Semitism even before October 7th. So this seems like an amazing opportunity for us to really step into a spot that needs some help. So that is my presentation. Open for questions.
That was so amazing, Hillary. Thank you for
Wow.
sharing that. I was just delighted when you said you'd present on this. We were at the PJCC very fortunate to have to work with the Bay Area Tour of Violins of Hope and to have an exhibit. And I think we just snuck it in there in 2020. I think our very last event was a house concert on May 8th. It was like 2 days before we went home. And so it was everything you said it was just as memorable and remarkable and impactful, and to have the Weinsteins here and was fabulous. So thank you for your beautiful presentation. And I think the growing hope that you continued the program and how it inspired and changed your community to continue education in that way is really inspirational. I see that Alina has a question, so I'm gonna say you go ahead and unmute, please. And
Sure. So this was amazing. How many people you reach and how many sites this travel to. I can't even fathom it. So I guess my question is, how you said you're the only JCC in the state of Illinois. So like, how
So
do you have the staff? Do you have the contacts? Like, where in Staten Island, we're not
so
the
we
only.
we really did build from the bottom up. I mean, we had a few contacts with some libraries that we worked with, close by to our building. The Gail Borden Library, which had the most extensive exhibit, they had violins. They had, I believe it was 10 violins. The violins had to go back to Israel for some tax thing, so we lost them for about 2 weeks. So Gail Borden had 10, and then when they came back, they had 10 more. So they had an exhibit for the entire 6 months. And from that relationship, they introduced us to other exhibit libraries throughout the state of Illinois. There's a consortium of libraries, and so we happened to get connected with the library that was the top exhibition library, and they were able to connect us to other places. Our department, the community engagement department, does every program that is not early childhood, day camp, or overnight camp. All other programs come out of our department. We're a department of 8 people. 4 of those work specifically on teen programming. I work on adult programming, and we have a manager of family programming, but she worked very closely with me on this. We have an unbelievable marketing team who just jumped right in. And again, we had 20 volunteers who we couldn't have done it without them. There's a lot of logistics, and that's what I'm good at. That's why I'm the manager of operations, but it's a lot of spreadsheets. It's a lot of moving pieces, figuring out, some of the violins are playable, some of them are not, and just moving them around the state. It was a lot, but we somehow got it done. I'm not going to lie. It was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting.
I can only imagine.
But it was so worth it.
What about was there any security required for the violins? Because I imagine these are incredibly valuable. So how you're packing them up and you're shipping them off someplace else?
No,
it's
we didn't
pack
ship
off
them.
and ship your child.
We didn't ship them. They were hand delivered everywhere they went, or they were picked up by the receiving organization. It's interesting. Afshi is not really the most organized person in the world. And so he didn't want us to use we had to order some extra cases because the violins some of them come 4 in a case. Mm-hmm. And so we were moving them around as single violins, and we ordered some cases off of Amazon, and he didn't want us to use those soft-sided cases, but we were wrapping the cello case in like duct tape
Oh my
and
God.
bungee cords because it was falling apart. And my supervisor happened to be at a program at one of our senior centers, and she had been talking to a woman who used to own a violin shop, and she said, "Oh, you know, I have a case I could give you. You shouldn't be traveling around with this." It was this
Mhm.
bright pink case that did not work properly. And so we got a cello case donated, which we then gave to Apshi and disposed of that. So they didn't need security. We had them out on tables on beautiful stands in all different places, but we had volunteers with every single violin or two violins, and nobody could touch the
Oh,
violins except our volunteers or you know, our
so the
staff.
so the volunteers went to every location.
Mhm.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's another great way just to have the community involved was another special memory for those volunteers as well. Well, thank you, Hillary, so much for
Yeah, that
being
was
our bright
amazing.
spot and
Thank you.
bringing
Thank
this
you.
program to everybody's attention. If you hadn't yet heard of Islands of Hope, and certainly you know, Hillary's on our listserv, and you're welcome to reach out with more questions or comments and follow up afterwards. We're going to shift to kind of the heart of our issue of our program this time, which is on arts and fundraising, different sponsorship models. And as Amy alluded to, we got this question from the field, which I think, so thank you, Stacy, for posing it to us, because it's wonderful, because I think there's so many different models, and for us to be able to then use JCCA as a resource and say, hey, where are these successful models? And then to be able to reach out to you and say, would you please, you know, step up and share with your community? And we're just so grateful that these panelists you're about to hear from did say that they would share their models. And so who we're about to hear from right now, and just, we hadn't mentioned it, but today we're not going to do any breakouts. We just thought we had so many great panelists that we wanted everybody to hear every word of everything. So you'll all be together in the main room. And after we hear from our panelists, we'll give them a little time to riff on each other and to see what they learn from one another. And then I'll open it up to questions again, which can either be done like you know, just did by raising your little gold hand, or by putting questions in the chat, and I can help monitor that during the different presentations. But we're going to hear from my partner in this endeavor, Amy Romani, who is the Director of Arts and Culture at the Evelyn Rubenstein JCC of Houston. We're going to hear from Yael Lutwick, Artistic Director of J times J at the Edelwitz DC JCC. And in this special crossover episode, we are having one of the co-chairs from the development peer community here. So we're very happy that Rick Lefton is making a special guest starring appearance. He's the Director of Development at the Mayerson JCC in Ohio. And I think this is all about partnership. We can't have this conversation without talking about how our cultural arts departments work with our development departments, and how these sponsorship levels are mutually beneficial across the agency, both in raising the profile of the art programming that is happening, and also in expanding what the JCCs do to the community and making those offerings. So I'm excited that we're going to hear from them. I'm not going to take up any more time, and we're going to go ahead and spotlight Amy right now. Thanks.
Thanks, Kimberly. So at the Houston JCC, we have a Patron of the Arts donor program where individual donors support the full arts and culture season. This program is well established in our community and was created about 50 years ago when our book festival first started, and has evolved over time. And you can see on screen, I'll get to the different levels in just a minute, but you can see on screen our different levels and the different benefits that are associated with each of them. This past year, we raised $218,000, which is from 174 households. To give you an idea of that impact on our budget, our Patron of the Arts campaign accounts for 36% of our total arts and culture revenue. Ticket sales are 16% of it. 29% is from endowments and foundations, and the rest is from grants and other donations. We have 6 different levels of support, which have different benefits associated with them. And Sawyer, if you just want to scroll down a little bit so people can see more of the different levels. Thank you. Our levels start at $700 and go up to $3,600. You'll see on the screen the different levels here. Our base level, which is gold at $700, includes access for 2 people to attend our signature events, our book festival and film festival. All the levels also include 1 or 2 patron receptions during the year, which often include an opportunity to connect with an author, artist, or filmmaker. All the levels also include early access to tickets, meaning we allow patrons to purchase tickets to certain events before they go on sale to the general public. Our theater has reserved seating, so people really enjoy that benefit. As the levels go up from there, we add on different events, including our performing arts program. At the $1,800 level, our patrons receive access to sponsor a program throughout the year. For our book festival, that can also mean an opportunity to take an author to dinner or drive them to their program, which is a nice perk. Typically, we start the campaign at the end of May or early June with a direct mail solicitation letter that goes out. And after a few weeks, we start following up with phone calls and with emails. We approach our patrons from last year, lapsed patrons, and identify prospective new donors from looking through like our repeat ticket buyers and also people who have bought subscriptions. We also encourage our committee members to become patrons, but we don't require it. We wrap up the campaign each year by the end of August, and this year we're trying a shorter campaign window, so there's more of a sense of urgency. We print Patron of the Arts recognition signs or like boards that list all of our patrons in each level that go on a wall leading to our theater. Our print deadline for those boards becomes like a last push, and we share that with patrons that we haven't heard back from. Also, the start of our season, and specifically our book festival starting in November, is usually when we pick up some last minute patrons as well, as that's when people realize that they want to get their free tickets for the festival. We find that our patrons are generally divided into 2 different groups. The first group are our donors who just want to support Arts at the J. They don't do it because they get free tickets and they really don't care about what's happening in that particular season. They are loyal donors and often support the J in multiple ways, and our patron campaign is one of them. We have a second group, which are our high program users. They become patrons because they want their free tickets to events, and especially at the base $700 level, it's a pretty good deal for what they get. We find that most of our patron base is older. 45% are over the age of 70, 25% are in their 60s, and about 12% are in their 50s. In terms of division of labor for the campaign, it's a collaboration between development and arts and culture. I usually come up with the benefits associated at each level and work on the campaign language, especially as it relates to the season highlights. Our development director and our CEO follow up with high-level donors, and we often have another staff person who's making follow-up calls to our base level patrons. We find that our Patron of the Arts program has been successful in raising significant funds to support the full arts and culture season. It also allows us to fundraise once for the arts and not have to do it for each separate event. Our patrons are a loyal audience base, and we find that we have higher attendance when a program is a patron benefit for more of the levels. In terms of the challenges of this type of program, one is definitely that we have an aging donor base. We have worked over the years to lower that donor base and are making slow progress, but it's still an issue for us. Another challenge we have is connected to free Patron of the Arts tickets for our popular programs. So because we provide patrons early ticket access and there is an incentive for people to get their tickets early to ensure a good seat in the theater, it also means that some people reserve tickets for everything, even if later they decide not to come. We end up having empty seats that we could have otherwise sold. For popular events, we follow up with patrons by email and text to find out if they're coming, which has helped. So at this point, I'll be happy to turn it back over to Kimberly, and I'm happy to answer any questions towards the end of our panel.
That was great, Amy. We're already seeing in the chat that people found that resource you shared very valuable. And yes, we will send it out to everybody. And as Sawyer says, will also live hopefully on the JCCA resource page. But now I'm going to turn it right over and we will spotlight Yale, who's going to tell us about their program.
Thank you so much. And thanks for inviting me. I mean, I'm really new to the role. So I put the things I've been doing in the chat. I've been in the role just a little over a year and a half. And the first thing was the council. I inherited a council because JXJ or J by J is DC Jewish Film and Music and year-round programming. And I had a council of 9 members who were, dedicated, but had been there a while. So it felt the best place to start was with a small group. So I did expand to 14 people in a year, and that has really helped because each one of these people are ambassadors and they're also donors. I really credit them a lot with some of our development success. I work very closely with the development team, of course, and our CEO, and I did launch 2 initiatives, one last year and one this year. One is the teen film contest that we run, and then we'll be launching a short film fund, which isn't announced yet, but sharing it with this group. And this short film fund will produce 2 short films a year about Jewish culture. So those are 2 initiatives, and for that, I just really researched, and it is definitely a benefit that I grew up here and worked in film for a while, and just connecting with people that I thought would really be passionate. And so we did find individuals rather than grants for these 2 initiatives. A family in one case and an individual in another who just were very passionate about reaching teens, or in other case, creating films. And I guess the last piece was also what obviously, Amy shared before, is of course looking at the giving levels and the benefits. And it just felt for the council that the number was sort of arbitrary and a bit low. And so over the course of my first year, I did work with our CFO and looking at the numbers. And so we bumped it up, frankly, that it's, looking at high for 1,800 and 3,600, so that there are these 2 giving levels that are also meaningful to the Jewish culture. And then for the donor levels and the benefits, we of course have all of that for all of our donors, right? From the 25K to the 10K to other levels. And each one of those receives benefits. And I do work closely with development on that. So I guess in my case, it's very much a new thing that I've been focusing on. It's part of my role along with curating. And it's been very rewarding to see how, when you do connect to people on a personal level, how much they do really want to support the arts. So, thank you.
Thank you. They're so lucky to have you and your background in documentary filmmaking in DC, and it's great to have people from all different. We're really happy that after 18 months, you're here on a panel talking about this. So thanks again for sharing. And now, just to hear from a different perspective, we're going to hear what things look like a few doors down in development from Rick Lefton. So Rick, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. Rick Lefton. I'm the Director of Development at the Marison JCC in Cincinnati. Been in my role about 10 years, and working on our Jewish and Israeli Film Festival is one of the highlights every year for me. I love it. It's a great program, and I will take you on a bit of a journey so you can see how we've kind of come to where we are today, running a successful sponsorship campaign for our film festival. Our film festival in Cincinnati started really around the time that Israel was celebrating the 40th birthday, so about 35 years ago. And it started with just a couple of films over a few days, and over the years grew to several weeks worth of film. Um, and all of the films were shown at our JCC in the auditorium. We noticed that the program was kind of flat. It wasn't growing. We were kind of seeing the same faces coming to a lot of the films. And we knew that the films are great. And if we could just get more eyeballs on these films, this program could grow. So in 2015, we made the decision to take the film festival outside of the walls of our JCC and take it to the community and utilize movie theaters and other venues around Cincinnati so that we could expose more people in greater Cincinnati to these great films. At the time, the sponsorship campaign was not really a focus of the film festival. It was bringing in maybe $10,000 to $15,000 a year from a handful of donors. But when we took the film festival out of the JCC, the expenses went way up. So the budget for the film festival went way up. And that put more pressure on the sponsorship campaign to help carry the load. So we really had to kind of reinvent the sponsorship campaign to be able to bring in a larger amount of revenue. So with the help of our film festival team, we looked at different areas where we could solicit people for sponsorship. So that brought us to enlarging our prospect base. So we looked at those who frequently attended the film festival. We looked at those who attended other JCC arts programs. We enlarged our film festival committee and kind of leaned on them to help connect us to new prospects that we could solicit to support the film festival. We started reaching out to former board members of our JCC, and we had been running a Create Your Jewish Legacy initiative, and we started to include them in the appeal for the film festival. So it gave us a larger pool of prospects to send the appeal to, which helped right away bring in more sponsors. We also kind of reinvented the sponsorship appeal, and I think you have that. I think Sawyer has that document to bring up for everybody to look at. So we created more levels. We enhanced the benefits, and it has a cover letter where we're really kind of stating the case of why it's important, especially now, especially this year, where we wanted to show a solidarity with Israel and shine a positive light on Israeli culture and life. We thought that would be an important part of the messaging this year. So our cover letter is signed by our arts team and our committee chair and myself. And then that's followed by the list of levels and benefits. And I work with the film festival team to kind of build up the benefits and levels. We've tweaked it over the years, and we have it in a good spot. I can tell you, and I don't know if Amy has the same kind of experience with this, but it just seems like there are people out there that just never use their tickets. And it's always kind of a head scratcher. But it kind of creates problems at times because you're holding seats for them that they're never really sitting in. So we haven't really figured that one out yet. We just always reserve a block enough to cover our sponsors. And it usually works out okay, but it's always kind of a last minute thing where we have tickets we could sell had we known. But the campaign itself is doing great this year. We're going to top $80,000 in sponsorship for the first time. So we came from a $10,000 to $15,000 level, and we're over $80,000 now in support of our film festival, which is running 4 weeks, basically the whole month of February, 13 films at venues all over town. And we're actually wrapping up on Thursday night this week. The other piece we added to it was our partnership appeal. And I think we also have that document. Partnerships, we look at the films and we kind of look at their theme. And then I approach other Jewish agencies that may have a mission or work that they do that connects somehow to the theme of a film. So I'm reaching out to our Holocaust and Humanity Center, Jewish Family Service, the Federation, Hillel, University of Cincinnati Department of Judaic Studies, Hebrew Union College. These are the types of agencies that will partner with us, which is basically a sponsorship. You can see there the presenting partners are investing $500 to be a presenting partner. For that, they get a handful of tickets, but what they also get is recognition. They get promoted along with the film that they're partnering on. They have the opportunity to make opening remarks before the screening of the film, where they can thank their donors. They can talk about their work. They can promote an upcoming event and just be part of the festival. For us, it is bringing new people to our film festival because our partners are promoting their partner film to their supporters. So it's helping fill seats by people who probably are interested in the topic of the film because their agency is partnering that night. So it's been a great addition to help, number one, raise revenue for the film festival, but also bring more people, more eyeballs to our community, from our community to our film festival, which has been a great addition. Another element that we added recently was our film festival program book, which if you're a partner, you get an ad in the program book. I believe we have the PDF of that you guys will be able to get a hold of. Our program book this year, this is a 70-page book, like a playbill that you would get at a Broadway series type show, full color, where each film has a few pages dedicated to it, where we'll have notes from the filmmaker, the director, the producer, notes about other topics related to the film. It allows us to sell ads or offer ads at higher sponsorship levels and partnership levels. It gives a sense of professionalism to our film festival, legitimacy, that people get one of these when they show up to the theater that evening and they hold on to it, and it has the calendar for the rest of the film festival. It's another elevated way that we can thank our sponsors and partners, where they get great recognition in the film festival program book. So it's really become an important piece of collateral for our film festival. It's a lot of work, I can tell you that, to put this together. Our marketing team does a great job working with our film festival committee, making sure all the details in there are correct, and we have everything in there that needs to be in there each year. But it's become, people really look for them when they show up to the theater. So it's great. I can tell you, as successful as the sponsorship campaign has been, there are also some challenges. One of which is the film festival has become the signature event in our arts calendar every year. It has made it a little harder for us to fundraise for other arts programming. I kind of like the way Houston is doing it, the way Amy's doing it, where it's one appeal and it feeds into all the arts programming. The horse is already out of the barn here for us, so I don't know if we could rearrange and kind of approach it from that way, but I'll think about it. But it had, we get great support for the film festival, but it's making it harder to fundraise for our, our book series and other annual arts program that we do. We wind up getting there, but it just makes it a little harder. Another challenge is it's labor intensive, right? There are a lot of moving parts. The program book is just one of them, but we also offer concierge service for our sponsors to be able to call one of us to arrange to get their tickets and to redeem the tickets that come with sponsorship. And that takes a lot of work, and it's labor intensive, and it's a stewardship activity also. So the the sponsors need to feel like, they're important, that they're being taken care of, they're being heard, their concerns are being heard. Everything from sponsors showing up to a film without telling us they're coming that night, and us knowing how to handle that and making them feel okay about it, to just making sure that they understand what benefits actually come at the level that they've sponsored at. So it is pretty labor intensive, but the dollars are super important for this important program of ours. So we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it that way. And hopefully we'll keep growing and growing. And it's just been an amazing 10 years that I've been working on this to watch the growth and seeing people attend these films from all different parts of our greater Cincinnati community that aren't Jewish, that I've never seen in our JCC is the big payoff. Open to questions, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much to all of our presenters. Rick, you did such a great job answering the questions I was going to ask right at the end there, because I definitely wanted to touch on the stewardship angle of it. And I wanted to ask, it sounds like you are very hands-on and your department is there in helping with that. Amy, I was curious from you or Yael, is that, do you see that as a shared responsibility between your different departments? Are you both really in tune with who are at each level and following up with them?
Yeah, I think I mean, in Houston, that's definitely something that we work on together with our development team. I will say that our customer relationship manager software in our ticketing system also plays a role in this for us. We use Patron Manager, which is part of Salesforce, and with the sophistication that Patron Manager brings, we're able to like assign benefits at each of the levels, and that actually allows our patrons to, like, once they log in, they have to remember to log in, which is a big first step. They actually like get their tickets that they are supposed to get for free taken off of their cart. But if you're at a higher level, it does it for all of your tickets, to a music or theater event. If you're at a lower level, it knows what tickets they have to pay for. But Rick, we also have the same challenge. I call them donor seats that I keep in my back pocket. So when someone walks up and inevitably there are some people that are just notorious for it, I'm just able to, welcome them into the theater, and it's not a big deal.
We all have those patrons, Amy.
Yes.
No, that's really helpful. But I imagine there's still you have some benefits that are very, very like one-on-one, like who's going to drive an author to an event, I imagine is something that you want to put great care and thought into pairing, so that they probably don't elect in the cart on Salesforce. But
Right. Yeah, that's something that we're specifically making an ask for, of like, do you want to introduce a program, or would you be interested in taking this author to dinner? But yeah, it's something that definitely takes a lot of time.
And Jessica just asked what system you use, and you said Patron Manager from Salesforce. Rick or Yael, do you use different systems you want to share?
We use Salesforce, and we also use our ticketing system is called Spectrix. And so, as Amy noted, they also talk to each other. And so, but the level of attention and care, like it's so important, right? So that the person that runs the ticket office, they also have the list of course, the council members and donors. They know exactly their names as they've been there longer. They know them, of course, personally. So we do spend a lot of time on that and all that information, as well as those relationships, right? Because these are the people we see a lot. And we also have the same problem. Every time I have a sold out screening, I know that I'm going to look at this, like have a few seats. We've gotten better and better about it, but it's just, as you know, it's really hard to predict and we can't be stuck. So it's something that we try and do in real time, because we don't want to lose that revenue and have an empty seat.
I noticed that earlier in the chat, there was a question about what is the percentage value of the free ticket packages versus the donated amount. For us, it really ranges depending on the amount. Like at our base amount, it's like 25% of that is a donation. As you get higher, for us, it's like, 60% of it is a donation. And over the years, we've definitely, like last year, our base level increased just to be able to cover our cost and help cover the cost of Patron Manager, which is an expensive ticketing system.
Great. I wanted to ask a couple other questions from the chat, and I'm going to read Stacy's, but also add a little thing to it. So Stacy says, when you have one appeal for all of the arts programming, has it affected fundraising dollars raised in a positive or negative way? And in that, can you talk if you have people who donate to multiple campaigns, or if they're really, you have an arts group and an overhead group and a fitness group, how that works? And Rick, we'll start with anybody. Sorry, Amy, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, we have our one campaign in the arts, and then separately, we're raising money for like, for like scholarships for kids and for different things. We find that there's certain, we have like a patron audience. There's a fair amount of overlap of those just like our loyal J supporters that want to support anything and everything that's happening here. And then there are also separate people who are donating to different parts of the agency and not donating to the arts.
Yeah, similar. I mean, our donors are our big push is around the festival, but we also do an appeal in the fall, and we have programming all year round. So the festival is like a special time for sure, and a lot of our budget, but we have films all the time, all year round, and we have concerts once a month. So, and these two initiatives. So we also need that support for our work all year.
Yeah, we have, obviously I fundraise for every department at our J. And I do get concerned at times about donor fatigue, reaching out to the same people, rapidly out the course of the year for multiple campaigns. I've gotten to a point where, there's a decent chunk of donors who support more than 2 or 3 initiatives at our J. So I've been able to work with those donors to have one annual conversation about giving to the J for the year. And we look back at what they did last year, and that's where the conversation starts. So that I don't have to approach them 5 times, even though they support 5 things in the course of a year. They like that. It's great for us because it helps us with our planning. It makes them feel appreciated that, we respect their time.
Well, any closing remarks from any of you before we switch to the last part of our segment? I just want to thank you so much and wanted to make sure there wasn't anything that you were holding on to that you're like, I forgot to share. You're good? You are amazing. I thank you so much for sharing your expertise and all the work that goes into this and providing us with different resources, so many levels and some clever names and different benefits is always the hardest thing from the drawing board. And so that's going to be very valuable.
Excuse me, can one of you address the question about brochures? Like it was in the chat, but I was curious about
there is a question in the chat. We're running it so quickly. We will address the question
Quickly,
of brochures.
yes. Thank you.
The idea of physical brochures and that they are expensive and maybe not as environmentally friendly. But I know, Rick, it's a shiny piece of paper that people like to see their name and add on versus digital brochures. Any experience there?
We do also make this available digitally. And it's posted on our film festival website. So there are some people that don't want to pick one up and take it home with them for one reason or another. So it's available to be looked at online as well. Yeah.
I'll share that for the first time this year, we for our book festival and film festival, we did a smaller, like a trifold brochure that went in the mail, and then it had a QR code to an expanded digital brochure that had everything in it that our normal printed brochure did. It's taking some learning by our older school audience, but it has a lot of really nice functionality in terms of clicking directly to tickets, bringing up film trailers, things like that.
Yeah, this year we are transitioning from a brochure to digital, and we will provide a one-pager with QR codes, but it's for all the reasons you mentioned, Kimberly. It's expensive, and it's the direction
Or
we're
Neil's
going.
reasons.
Yeah.
Great question, Neil, and thanks for pointing that out that we hadn't quite gotten there. So I appreciate everybody's time and participation. Thank you all again. Here's our save the date headline for our next peer group meeting. We are going to meet on Thursday, May 9th at 2:30 Eastern. So that's just a save the date, and I'll put that in the chat as well. And we do have a topic. We're going to make that our annual kind of programming session. And the idea for that is we will have a bright spot. So again, it's a second plug to if you know something in the community going on at your JCC or a neighbor's JCC, please send it to us. We do love that segment, and it was so nice to hear from Hillary today. And then we are going to talk about artist in residence programs, both hopefully with visual arts and also performing arts. Some might be as short as a weekend, some might be longer. We have not yet solidified who will be presenting, but we're excited to talk about that type of relationship, and that will be on May 9th. So you can look forward to that. Let's see. So how we are going to end all of our sessions is we're going to turn it back to Joy, who opened it up. Either Joy or Randy will share some hand-selected notes particular to their field that JCCA thinks will be of interest to keep us up to date on upcoming events and opportunities. So again, thank you to every single person who participated, even everybody who comes and asks questions and suggests topics. This is what it's all about. We so appreciate all your participation. And Joy, I'll turn it over to you to close.
I appreciate that, Kimberly. Thanks so much. And thank you to all of our panelists. This has been great. Please hang in there for a few announcements of things that you may have either seen in a brief or something that you don't yet know about. On February 29th at noon, there's going to be an option for people who want to volunteer to help with English-speaking Residents Association, Israel's largest English-speaking community, and it's really helping Israeli teachers who are not native English speakers who are teaching English to school-age kids. So if you know anybody about that's interested in that, please spread the word about that. We also have our friends at the Jewish Book Council have just opened up the new 2024-25 season, and they're offering new JCC's sites for 20% discount to join for the first year. And you can contact Susan Swift, and we can put her information into the chat in a moment. And hang on one second, let me just do that. And another announcement, this is for Susan Swift for the Jewish Book Council, if anybody's interested in speaking with her. I want to also draw attention to something that's happening actually right now, but that you can access. There's the disability inclusion posters. They are phenomenal. Sharoni Saboni is the artist, and she's worked with our director of inclusion, Ciara West. And it's part of the Jewish Disabilities Awareness Month. And so if you get an opportunity, click on the JCC Resource Center page for inclusion, and you can download these posters. You can order the posters. It's really an amazing program, and they highlight all different aspects of disability and inclusion. One more announcement, the Jewish Film Presenters Network. We are an anchor partner. They're floating a July conference. It will be in person for the first time this year and will take place in San Francisco. You may have seen something about this in a JCC Association brief that was sent out. If you have not, then keep an eye out for it coming to your inboxes. And that just gives us another reminder to watch the briefs, keep reading the briefs, share them with your colleagues, and hopefully you'll be in touch with all of the things that are happening here at JCC Association as well as in the community. So at this time, I'd really like to thank Sawyer Schwartz for managing all of the tech behind the scenes, and Amy and Kimberly and all of our presenters for setting up such an amazing session. This was fabulous. As soon as we get the recording, it will be posted on the JCC Resource Center page. Please do join us for future peer community events. If you like this kind of thing, tell the other people who work at your JCCs. We have 12 different peer communities who meet. So hopefully we'll be able to get all of the people at your JCCs involved in their peer communities. Thanks so much for being here with us this afternoon. Hope you have a great rest of your day.